Hi. Today we are going to talk about a little sensitive topic, which is why are Indian men sexually frustrated? That includes me. So I can tell you from personal experience. I have been on both sides. I have seen my mom, my mother, getting unwanted physical touch in a bus when I was 12 years old. And I also not done such harassment, but I have done my fair share of sending unsolicited messages in social network, trying a little too hard to get a girlfriend. Okay, so I have a theory of why Indian men are frustrated like this and what can we do. The reason is actually quite simple. Indian men are frustrated because they are not getting it. That's it. They basically, sex is a basic human need. It's a basic biological need which human men across the world have. Okay, but Indians get much lesser. If we can calculate some way, the average amount of experience a human male gets across the world, I'm pretty sure Indian men will be the lowest. So that's the reason. Okay, let me explain why I think that is the reason. Obviously, this is my theory and like my opinion. Of course, I could be wrong. Okay, so for example, first, how do we know that Indian men are sexually frustrated? This is actually the basic question. You can just ask any woman. They would have, any woman in India or even young girls, right? They experience harassment from a very young age. And all kinds of harassments, like from the most, I will say, severe harassment to the slightly mundane harassment, but they're all harassments. So, for example, staring. you know, uh, Women stare women like crazy in public places, in office. Every woman experiences that. And also now with social media, there's so much evidence of this. Okay, look at the comment section of any woman's photos. Look at the kind of pages we create. Obsessing about every little part of the female body, and even things like unwanted attention. At the workplace. Like guys immaterial of whether they are married or young or old, they will be trying to chat up, with girls unnecessarily, trying to, uh, get some sort of interaction going on without any reason, even in spite of, girls experiencing their disinterest, not having any common ground, not having any common interest, but still trying to chat. This is like an epidemic of trying to chat up women at the workplace. And also, we've seen a lot of physical harassment also, which is a serious kind of harassment. Touching women inappropriately, in public places. And also, if we go all the way, there is also sexual assault, which is the most heinous crime committed by frustrated men. Okay, so for me, it's very clear. And even guys, we ask guys, every guy knows. Just ask yourself, are you happy with your sex life or not? Most guys, most Indians will say no. They are not getting what they should be getting. There is a sense of scarcity, there is a sense of desperation, right? So, yeah, for me, it's very clear that Indian men are sexually frustrated. There is abundance of evidence for it. So now let's try to figure out why. Okay, because men are same across the world. I don't think Indian men have any genetic flaw or something is wrong with our culture or sex education. There are a lot of reasons given, why Indian men behave like this. But I think the basic reason is lack of needs being fulfilled. This I can tell from, but by the way, I'll give you some examples of how I harassed women during, when I was younger. I'm not as desperate now. So I have, during the days of Orkut, I have messaged women, who are not connected to me, asking them, hey, I like you, can we talk, do you want to be my friend? And also, of course, these days on Instagram, I used to send messages, and also doing slightly weird things on dating apps, for example. So when I go to a Hinge, what I do is I find women, and some of the women mention their company name, which you should not. So once a woman mentions her company name, then I try to find her office email address. It's quite easy to find actually. Then I email them directly on the office email address. Hey, I found you on Hitch. I like you. Should we talk? Yeah, looking back, like I cringe by this behavior. But it is very clear to me, this behavior is not driven from malice. I did not like wake up and think, hey, let me go and trouble some women now. Hey, let me feel powerful, by creating trouble for women. And I know, like abundantly, it's clear to me that we should think about the perspective of the women. Okay, so obviously, I don't want to create trouble. I'm actually a good guy. Like I don't want to, create misery in others. Okay, and I think most guys are good. Okay, nobody wakes up thinking, okay, let me go and harm someone. But the reason I did it is desperation. Okay, so I had very little experience, sexual experience, and I'm still not married, by the way. But it looks like even married guys are desperate these days. So when I look into myself, for me, it's very clear. I'm a good guy. I know things which are wrong, which you should not do. But I'm like not pushed. Like I am like forced, actually, yeah, let's say forced or pushed, into doing this out of desperation. Um, because if you see, this, every man has this urge, okay? And when you make this urge difficult to satisfy, because in India, we don't have dating culture, and women are like segregated for a very young age. So boys don't know how to talk to girls. Girls are different, right? You have to talk to them like they are not like boys, okay? Right? So because of the segregation, there is no intergender, relationships. Basically, the boys and girls, men and women are like little far apart in India. Okay, so what happens is the guys are, they have this need and it is not fulfilled, but sexuality is everywhere. It is like abundant. Open Instagram, full of, beautiful women, showing off their beauty. See any movie, every movie has an item number, where it is like specifically choreographed to titillate, men's mind, right? So sexuality is everywhere, but you cannot get sex. Okay, but this is like actually I will say it's a cruel situation, for men. It is like an example could be, similar example could be, you are working in a buffet, okay, but you are forced to fast. Just imagine, serving food to others while you are hungry, seeing delicious food around you when you're not eaten like few days. Do you think that person can, stop themselves from stealing the food? No. Okay, so this is like a very biological urge. Even animals, right? Like you can try to. We are actually animal. If you look at it, we try to be. We should be actually have more self-control than animals. But even animals, we see this. In zoos, there is a way to treat animal. You cannot just not give them food for a long time and help and expect them to behave properly. No, everybody needs, animals and humans need their basic needs fulfilled. Then you can expect them to follow societal norms, think about others. Okay, so there is problem of, abundance of sexuality and scarcity of sex. I think that is the reason. That is a simple reason why Indian men are creating problems for Indian women. I don't think there's any malice involved. In some cases, like in sexual assault, I think maybe there is a power aspect of power involved. But mostly it is just guys, good guys out there trying to get some sex. And there's nothing wrong with that. But unfortunately, it's a bad situation for both men and women in India. Because we can't obviously ask women to, we can't force them to give this to men, right? Obviously, they need to be attracted to someone before, getting involved with that person. So basically both men and women are suffering in India. Okay, men are suffering because they are not getting what they want. Women are suffering because this desperate men are like harassing this women. So what is the solution? Okay, this is actually a tough problem to solve. But I think it is solvable. Obviously, the government has to take certain strong measures to solve this. So I think the immediate thing which I think will solve this problem a bit is legalizing and protecting prostitution. Okay, so in India, like this sex work is seen as wrong. There's a huge stigma. We should destigmatize it. Okay, make it okay for men to go and get it from women who are willing to give it in exchange for money. Okay, so the government should legalize it, destigmatize it, and also protect the sex workers, because this is risky business, right? So there has to be strict legal framework to protect the sex workers from violence or like whatnot, harassment, and also give them social security. Meaning they will be like spending the prime of their life doing this work, right? So what will they do once they cross the prime of their life, right? So they need some sort of financial protection. We need to give them something like a pension, so that they don't have to worry about, how will the future be, right? So yeah, so this is the first thing I think the government should do. This will solve a lot of desperation, because guys will have an outlet. Okay, if they are like desperate, they can go and get it. Okay, and if it is destigmatized, they will be they will find it less difficult to go and get it and satisfy their needs. But the biggest thing which we should do is basically ban boys only, girls only educational institutions. Okay, basically we have to encourage mingling of boys and girls from a young age, so that boys know how to deal with women, so that boys understand, how to deal with their sexuality, so that boys understand, the lady's point of view. Okay, so we need to bring men and women closer. Okay, the current culture basically keeps them apart. Okay, which creates all this problem. See, one reason why women, are not able to understand this behavior by men is because they don't see the position of a man who has testosterone running in the body like crazy, creating that sexual drive. Most women, like, they can't imagine how much sex drive a healthy man has, right? Because they don't understand this, they can't understand, why are guys being so mean, why are you being so desperate. If it was possible for a woman to go inside a man's brain, then there will be so much sympathy. Like, oh my God, no, let's give some food to the thirsty people, right? Yeah, so we need to bring men and women together, because sex is something which one entity has to give. The men are the horny people. The men are the one who have high sex drive. And the women have less sex drive, but they get something else, protection, and resources from men. Okay, we need to bring men and women closer together, so that this exchange happens. This exchange should happen naturally, without harassment, so that both men and women are like happy and better off and like more fulfilled. They get what they need, and they're also happy to give what the other person needs, right? So yeah, so basically we need to encourage this at a cultural level, completely ban boys only, girls only education institutions. We need, and also ban all this stigmatization of like Valentine's Day, trying to tell people, you should not have sex before marriage. It is fine. See, you could say that, this goes against our Indian culture. Okay, our Indian culture says that sex should be something only within the confines of a marriage. Then I think you should go all the way. Okay, then you segregate men and women completely, like they do in Arab countries. Okay, don't have women in the workplace. Don't keep them only at home. Okay, then they will not face harassment, right? Because they are not mingling. So you can't have both ways. I want a liberal world, where women can go to the workplace, they can go travel in public transport without fear. But I will also, not give, men what they want. Okay. So either you go full liberal, okay, where you say that relationships, before marriage are fine, and and women can come to the workplace, share places with men, or you go on the other side, okay. Sex is only within marriage, and women, please don't come near men, okay. So we are stuck in the middle, okay. We want to liberalize, women's rights, make them financially independent, okay. But we have not done the liberalization on the other side, making sex liberal, okay. Make it like, don't attach so much shame with it, like make it healthy, encourage people to, get it, don't tell them this is wrong, okay. Your mind is impure. If you say that, really, that is a recipe for disaster. You will have desperation, and you will be putting women near men, which is a recipe for disaster, which is what we are seeing. Okay, so I think we should go in the direction of being more liberal. Okay, bring women into the workplace, get them financial, independence, but also liberalize the concept of sex so that men don't feel shamed to get it, and they get their needs satisfied naturally, so that we can have a good relationship between men and women. Okay, that's all for now. Bye.